And so do you feel that, with your expertise in that and just stepping out, you're not in a government capacity right now, right? So we can speak on like Ukraine, right? So do you feel that, do you think that, Russia wouldn't have been so bold to take over Ukraine if Kiev would have kept some strategic armory available for such an occasion, such as like any type of nuclear capabilities that they had?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I think.
I mean, they're just trying to play the game, right? They signed into the treaty in the 90s, right? And they're like, hey, we want to play sovereign games, so we're going to play sovereign games, right? And they did that's what they did.
That was the agreement. Ukraine give up its nukes. Russia promised not to do what they're doing. So essentially, broadly. So for me, the Ukraine piece, when I was the undersecretary, I was talking to my NATO peers constantly, because remember the Afghan drawdown was sort of on the horizon there, and the president wisely wanted to get out of Afghanistan in that war, and we'd been there way too long, and what I kept telling my NATO peers, and we'd have conversations about, is we came in together back in 2001. We modified troop levels together, and I said, and you can be rest assured we'll leave together, as a cohesive alliance. Well, that didn't happen.
Right.
What happened is you had this pell-mell rush in August, and it became a real travesty because what happens in August in Europe, every single person, government, not government, is on vacation. Holiday. And Europe is religious about that. And secondly, it's kind of trickled over into the United States, and so you had Antony Blinken in his place in the Hamptons, cooling his heels. Jen Psaki was on leave, and you had a lot of people gone in August, and there had been no bilateral or multilateral coordination with NATO. And so what happened is we just decided to leave, and then all of a sudden the Taliban momentum begins to pick up against the Afghan defense forces, and a lot of the NATO nations that were over there were small, like Romania and Poland. They had very small provincial reconstruction teams, and they had no way out because there had been no coordination, there had been no discussion, there had been no, perhaps a surge of troops to hold back and then collapse and then get out, get the civilians out first so they could be protected. And so what Putin sees is NATO in disarray in the wake of Afghanistan. And he says, most people recognize the window of opportunity by the sound of it slamming shut. Well, Putin saw this window of opportunity and said, I'm going to drive right through this window of opportunity. He began to move troops around the Ukrainian border and around into Belarus.
That's right.
And like within a couple of weeks of the Afghan withdrawal. And it was an embarrassment. It was a nightmare. And there was no diplomacy. Not only did we, mess up the Afghan withdrawal very badly to the tune of, a couple dozen soldiers killed, a couple dozen more
lives.
Lives. 13 soldiers killed and 2 dozen lost limbs and traumatic brain injury.
And that's just UCMJ guys, not let alone the interpreters who have just been tracked down and, and all of the different people who were able to, that were hoping for the best for their country. Now all of a sudden, women are shut out of schools. Women are told not to do anything else. And, man, I'm married 23 years. I will be damned.
Right.
If a woman cannot, and I got 2 daughters and a son who I'm raising under this roof, and I'm going to tell you that that is not the way.
Right.
They are not Jedis.
Right.
Okay, so sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt
No,
you, but
that's
true.
right.
Go ahead.
That's a very, very relevant point. At the end of the day, though, what happened is that debacle led, signaled to Putin that if he was going to move, now's the time to move, and so he did, and that led to what we've got now, and in Ukraine, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, illegal, improper, immoral, all of that. The war is happening, and again, I don't see any level of effort on the diplomatic front from the United States to try to tamp this thing down, find a path, find a solution. And I'm reminded of my experience in the Balkans back in 95, 96, 97. You had the Serbs, in a very brutal war, attacked the Bosniaks or Croatians, Herzegovinians, and they came in there. They were torturing people. General Wes Clark and President Bill Clinton got everybody together in Dayton, Ohio, and they created the Dayton Peace Accords. It wasn't perfect, but at the end of the day, they carved out a zone of separation. They got the warring factions apart and brought in a multinational force, NATO primarily, to hold open the shoulders on this zone of separation to allow peace to take hold, and that was a really good peace deal. But you can't even have that conversation today, because if you begin to talk about having any kind of negotiated settlement, you're a Putin stooge. You're all in with Russia. You get attacked by the the liberal media, which is most of it, and then you get destroyed. And so this runaway train toward World War III is not matched, from the the liberal elite, is not matched by them sending their sons and daughters into the United States military, because we can't make recruiting goals right now. So you have this high-minded, highbrow ivory tower. No, you can't give an inch to Putin, and I'm not suggesting we do, but you can't even have that conversation with Putin or anybody, and yet they're not backing up what they're saying with their own blood and treasure. And so that to me is the real hypocrisy in what's happening today.
Interesting. That's a very cool take on that thought. I would think right now in the Ukraine, with Russia, taking down the civilian aircraft with their, in 2012, 2014 over Ukraine, that was during the Obama administration. There's a little bit of this left on his plate that, was that I think isn't brought up, right? Okay, because this all started around then. And what happened, I think, in my opinion, from watching, the media that you reference and everybody else out there. And first of all, I'm liberal with my ketchup and my ammunition. That's what you know that, okay? So I feel that that's a label. So if you're going to say liberal, I say with my ketchup, sir. No, but again, I feel that it was kind of unprovoked for them to go in there and come at them, even because he wants an empire. Okay, he has said it. Vladimir has said he wants to go back to Peter the Great. He wants the empire to be back, which is Moldova, which is Ukraine, which is Belarus.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Hello, I mean,
right.
if he's going to put any type of nuclear weapons inside of Belarus, he's looking for a permanent party in that place, because those have to be operational for him to be using them. So, I mean, Belarus is basically letting him take over Belarus now. And so then if we let it come to America, it's a little late, don't you think?
Yeah.
If it gets here, it's late.
Yeah,
it's too late.
It's way too late, right? Putin is exactly what you're saying. It's revanchism of taking back what he claims is his territory. For whatever reason, he can't live with the international boundaries that are in place. And sure, history is replete with international boundaries being shifting and fought for, and so
Ottoman Empire
yeah,
drawing the Middle
yeah,
East. It's true. It's true.
and this really is sort of a naked play for the coal, the oil, and the Donbass. And from my
Yep.
perspective, it's an energy play. It's about resources. It's about economy, and it's a little bit about him reasserting himself on the world stage. For all the grief President Trump received about all these fabricated notions of his relationship with Putin and Russia and all of that, and it's
Hmm.
100% utter BS. It's Obama and Biden who have given in to Putin. Obama gave him Crimea, and sent blankets instead of javelins when the Russians came in, and then now Biden has essentially it didn't do anything to forestall the intervention in the 6 months of building up troops. So that's the real those are the facts on the ground.
Now, do you think, with that said, do you think that we have been ramping up with some of our SF, since the airliners and the original Crimea? My understanding is some of Ukraine was ready, whereas Russian soldiers were just displaced and discombobulated, which they still seem to be because they're working underneath this whole Wagner group,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like all conscripts, and I mean, try to force patriotism with a minigun to your back if you don't go to fight,
Right.
right? It's like, you love this country. Well, I mean, yes, yes, I do.
Right. Right.
You're going to pick up the ammo in front of the dude before you because he just died. Wait, what about a gun? And pick his up over there. You're like, wait. I mean, that's my opinion. Again, my thoughts is what's happening with those troops over there. They're just kind of disarray, right? I mean, now, with that said, you see Putin putting himself on the center stage and trying to flex with, President Xi from China. Okay, and they've gotten together recently, and they've met and they've shaken hands, and they both said, "Oh, we agree to pause in the conflict." And what's your take on China getting involved with Russia to try to pause the conflict?
Yeah, so what I see there is China filling a leadership and diplomacy vacuum created by the current administration. Because of this cultish religion within the current administration here in the United States about how you cannot talk to Putin, you cannot try to find a solution to this problem. It inhibits and prohibits discussion, creative solutions such as the Dayton Peace Accords. And so what China is doing is there's a leadership and a power vacuum out there. It's very clear. And so they have come in. And so from China's perspective, what better than to pledge friendship with Russia, promise them some money, some equipment, some backing, and all of a sudden, China gets to weaken the United States arsenal by leveraging Russia to do so when he sees our myopic commitment to Ukraine. And so if China, Xi, can get us to double, triple, quadruple down inside Ukraine with our patriots, with all the things that we're going to need in a Taiwan war.
He's watching.
Yeah.
They're
Not
watching.
only is he watching, he's supporting Russia, and it's a baited ambush. The more that China gives Russia, the more we have to put into Ukraine. And as we begin to flow all that stuff in there, there's some tipping point out there where China will then do whatever it intends to do regarding Taiwan. That's my reading of the tea leaves here. And again, this utter lack of diplomacy from Antony Blinken and the Biden administration is breathtaking. It is the level of incompetence that I see right now from this administration in dealing with foreign policy, whether it's Afghanistan, China, Russia. It's staggering. And it's because, in part, because we're so focused on domestic stuff that is meaningless, and not on the major geopolitical chess match that is constantly happening. And all the chaos here in this country is just music to the ears of the Xi's and Putins of the world.